Are you thinking about moving to Dallas, Texas? Well, hold up, because it's not a perfect state, and I want to share with you the top 8 negatives about Dallas coming right up. So if this is your first time to this channel, you want to know everything about Dallas, make sure to subscribe below, click the bell notification so you're the first to know the market update in Dallas, Texas. My name is Daniel, I'm a realtor and a loan officer, and if you're thinking of moving in a few weeks, a few months, or a year down the line, feel free to call, text, email, whatever you prefer. I'm happy to help you move to Dallas, Texas. As you know, a lot of people are moving to Dallas, Texas, and it's a great city. A lot of people who live here love Dallas, but then there are some people who are thinking, you know what, I don't love Dallas. It's not what I thought it'd be. It's not my ideal city. It's not the perfect city. And so they're telling me of these negatives of Dallas, and I get it, because everyone is different. For some people, Dallas is a great city. For some people, it's just not a great city. And that's with any city. There is no perfect city, right? So today I want to share with you the negatives of living in Dallas so that you are prepared before or if you do move out here. So the first negative of living in Dallas is the weather. Texas weather is really hot or really cold for the most part. We do have spring, we do have fall, but here in Dallas, Texas weather can be above 100 degrees during the summer. And so it gets really hot. Now, it's more on the dry side than the humid side. Houston is very humid, so I'm very thankful I live in Dallas, because I would rather live in somewhere that's dry than somewhere where it's humid. So here in the summer, we're really hot. It's really hot here, so I guess that could be a good thing for some of you guys, because it requires you to take a shower, right? Maybe at least once a day or so. So that's kind of the downside of the summer weather. But the winter weather, downside about the winter weather is that it gets really cold. And when it gets really cold, we're talking like storm recently, at least the past few years, we have a lot of snow coming, a snowstorm. And so we've been kind of locked in. So there's a lot of snow that can come, and like every year we are kind of locked in every few days or so a year. And so you can't really go out, because when it snows here and the weather is under freezing temperatures, and freezing temperature, then when it rains, of course, it's going to be icy roads. So you can't go to work. I guess that's a good thing for some of us, right? But if you work from home, that's not a good thing, because you still work, and then you have to take care of your kiddo because they can't go to school. So that's kind of like, not an easy life during that kind of season. So summer is really hot, winter is really cold, spring, fall isn't too long, but of course it is amazing, it's beautiful. And here in Dallas, we have very unpredictable weather conditions. So I'm always looking at the weather forecast to see, okay, what's the weather gonna be like today, tomorrow, the next few days, so I can get a better feel of what it's gonna be like this coming up. So that's the very downside. Now, if you're coming from cities like Chicago or New York, where it's really cold and you're kind of like, oh, that's nothing, really hot, oh, that's nothing, then Dallas is a great city. If you're coming from like the beach city, then that's going to be a very difficult lifestyle for you to transition. So if you're okay with this, then Dallas is a great city. Number 2, I know most of you ain't going to like this, but it has to do with bugs. We got a lot of bugs out here in Dallas, and I'm sorry, but it's just like bugs everywhere. Now, of course, in the summer or when it gets really hot, you have like a lot of mosquitoes. So you want to go outside, enjoy dinner or enjoy lunch in, I don't know about like the hot weather, but let's just say you want to go outside and you're out there grabbing a bite outdoors, and mosquitoes are going to bite you. So for example, my family, what we do in our backyard, when we want to go outside the backyard, we always have these mosquito repellent, and whatever we can to keep these mosquitoes away from us, because we know, man, you go out there for like 15 minutes and you already have several bites, like just all at once. So kind of mosquitoes are something that we don't like here in Dallas, but it's just kind of a problem here. We have fire ants, we got cockroaches. So that's kind of where people who've moved from another city, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that Dallas had so many bugs. And I didn't either, because my house, we don't have like bugs. We use pest control. But I guess as you live in Dallas, you'll see a lot of bugs here and there. But of course, mosquitoes is one thing that I know for sure that there's a lot of wherever you go. And then of course, cockroaches, fire ants, etc., bugs. So that's kind of plenty here in Dallas. Number 3 is property tax. Now, the good news here in Texas is we don't have state income tax, and that's a great thing about living in Texas. But the downside is property taxes are higher in percentage wise than other states. So for example, let's say your house is valued at $500,000 according to the tax assessor, $500,000, and let's just say your property tax is, let's just put it at 2%. It's a bit above 2% or so, but 2%. So 2% times 500,000, we're talking about 10,000 a year. Is not easy money. It's for some people, that's obviously, man, that's a lot of money for anyone, that is. And so because we don't have state income tax, that kind of balance it off, so that where you don't pay state income tax, you got to pay property taxes. So people who have homes, that's kind of the downside. People who are more of investors, that is definitely a downside. So something to consider, just to let you know that when people close on their property, they look at their escrow payment, their mortgage payment, and they're like, oh my goodness, why is this so expensive? And they didn't calculate the property taxes, or they didn't think it would be as high. So that's kind of a caution, a pre-warning for you, that when you do buy a house, you want to be aware that property taxes are going to be high. But let's just say you're paying a $500,000 property 2% versus a house in LA, and we're talking about $1 million at, let's just say 1%, then it equals to be the same amount. It's just a percentage is higher, but the amount is the same. So that's kind of the downside, but it kind of also makes, at least a bit more relief that we're not paying more money, but yes, we are paying higher percentage. So that's the downside about Dallas property taxes. Number 4 is allergies. And if you struggle with allergies, then Dallas is not going to be your friend. And I'm sorry, because people who move here, they're like, well, I didn't know that Dallas had so much pollen and people are very allergic here and there. And so they get caught by surprise. And even some people who didn't even know about allergies, they come here, they move out, they're like, oh my goodness, I have allergies. I didn't know that. And so I am telling you this from experience, from past clients who didn't know about this and who lived here, or who live here right now. They still love Dallas, that is, except the allergies, right? There's that kind of downside of living in Dallas. So some people, we just don't really know until they live here. But of course, that's kind of like seasonal. So there's also, of course, those like, over-the-counter medication that you can take, or supplements, vitamins, that would definitely help you to remove that allergies. But that's kind of to let you know in case you want to move here. Number 5 is traffic. And traffic here in Dallas is just really bad. We're talking like I-35, I-635, 75, let's say some of the tolls, and it can get really trafficy. And for people who don't like driving in traffic, I mean, who really does, right? Nobody likes driving in traffic. But like, let's say, for example, your commute, you have to drive during rush hour, and you really don't have a choice but to drive in a congested highway or a toll. So that's going to be a downside for some people. But again, what other cities that are like the major cities don't have traffic? Because we're talking like LA has a lot of traffic, right? New York has a lot. So does Chicago. Anywhere you go really has a lot of traffic. But this is just kind of letting you know, because some people think, oh, Dallas, there ain't going to be that much traffic. But really, there is quite a bit of traffic, more than you might think. So that's kind of just to let you know that Dallas isn't all perfect when it comes with road conditions and traffic, but there is going to be quite a lot of traffic. And also the road conditions aren't the best. When you drive like on the highway, you drive toll and you got to like transfer from one to another, you're going to get kind of lost because they're not perfectly built and created in a way where it's easy to transition from one highway to another. So, or even like the exit. So that's kind of the downside of Dallas. Number 6 are tornadoes. Yes, we do have tornadoes here. And sometimes as you're driving, let's say you're driving from work to home and you just ended work and you hear like a siren warning, you're like beep beep outside, right? You're like, what's going on? That is probably a tornado warning, just to let you know that you better go home, get shelter, because tornado is going to be coming, or something's going to be coming, a storm's going to be coming. So just be very careful of that. So people who move here like, what's going on? I'm like driving and I just hear all this like siren warning. That's what it is. So don't be caught by surprise when you hear that when you're here, but just realize that, okay, when that time comes, then find shelter, go home, be in a safe place, because who knows what may happen. And personally, for me, I have yet to experience something like traumatic, but of course there are people who have experienced it, but not everyone experiences it. But that is the negative of living in Dallas. And number 7 is hail. Now, hail can be the size of golf balls, can be big. Size of baseball sometimes. I haven't seen it at the size of baseball. I don't want to, but I have seen it at the size of golf balls. They can be really big. I was one time in a restaurant with my wife, and thankfully our car was in a covered parking spot, covered parking garage. And so because we were covered, we were okay, but we couldn't go outside when we were done with our food. We couldn't go outside because hail, it was like just going crazy. And we're like, oh my goodness, this is scary. So that's kind of a thing where it can get really common here in Dallas when it comes with cars. Like the top of your car can be like, you can have like dents on your car. So that's why when you do car insurance, just remember that and make sure you have that coverage. Also homes, the roof of the house, a lot of the houses here get damaged by hail, and so that insurance is going to cover you as well. So again, make sure you have that coverage as well. So that is really common. So when my clients and we go take a look at a house, a lot of things that I see about the house is that, oh, it had hail damage back like 5 years ago, so they had to change a roof. And so that's very common here. So that's not something that doesn't catch you by surprise. But people who are from out of state that move here, they're like, oh, I didn't know there was that much hail. But yes, Dallas, we do have hail. And number 8, there isn't much to do here in Dallas. Now, of course, there are a lot of things to do in Dallas, but when you live here for quite some time and all these things that you've already experienced, you're kind of like, oh man, that's repetitive. Okay, I've already done that. Then you're like, I'm kind of stuck. What do I do? And so then, okay, let's go take a road trip. Road trip to where? Houston, Austin. Okay, that's not like too exciting, but what do I have to do next? So then comes airfare. There comes airplanes and flying to other cities to kind of enjoy the other lifestyle, right? And so that's kind of the downside of Dallas is there isn't much to do here. People who are like, oh no, there's so much to do here. Yeah, that's for people who haven't really adventured out much or haven't lived here long enough. But when you live here long enough, you're like, okay, I don't have much to do. So that's kind of the downside of Dallas. So just be mindful of that before moving here. You might have to do more road trips or more flying. So that's kind of the downside of living in Dallas. So what are my thoughts of living in Dallas? I love Dallas. That's why I'm living here. If I didn't love Dallas, I wouldn't be here. I'd be in another state, another city, another country, wherever. But I love Dallas. Dallas is a great place for young professionals, for families, for those who are retired. It's a great city. I did share with you the negatives because I'm just letting you know it's not the perfect state. No state is perfect, right? It's not a perfect city because wherever you go, there's always going to be negatives. And so these are the negatives that I want to share with you. As long as you're okay with the weather, you're okay with the allergies, the bugs, whatever I mentioned. Some of these aren't a big factor like traffic. Okay, that's wherever you go. But I'm just letting you know so that you don't have this wrong perspective of your ideal state of Texas or Dallas specifically. So just to give you these warnings in advance. And if you're thinking of moving in a few weeks, a few months, or you're down the line, feel free to call, text, email, whatever you prefer. I'm happy to help you move to Dallas, Texas. And if you like this video, make sure to click that like button. If you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.